Hi, welcome to Clitorally Speaking, the podcast. I'm Michelle Doherty.
And I'm Emily Lane.
We are BFFs dedicated to bringing you conversations between girlfriends over a bottle of wine.
Oh, I am so excited about the wine part.
Oh, me too. So pull up a chair, grab your glass,
and let's get talking.
Hey, Emily, how are you today?
Hey, Michelle. I'm thirsty.
Are you wine thirsty?
I'm wine thirsty. Absolutely. I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
Good. I'm doing pretty fantastic. Yeah. Got a little excitement happening around the house. I should have a new fence by the weekend.
That's amazing. And you're actually doing the work yourself.
Well, with my sons.
I mean,
so I'll hopefully I'll have a new fence and all my fingers at the end of the weekend. That's the goal.
Right.
But I'm looking forward to it, and a new privacy fence, and just kind of sort of transform the backyard.
Yeah, you definitely are creating quite a sanctuary back there.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah.
Oh
So
gosh.
what about you?
I am in the midst of acquiring a company, and starting my other new job, and hosting events and all kinds of things, and it's been pretty great, and that in tandem with what we're developing here and what's happening with our show this season.
Yeah.
I'm kind of living in the clouds right now.
Yeah, it's almost like pitch me, right?
Right.
It's so awesome. Pitch me, make sure it's for real.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Good. Well, we have another great guest today on today's episode, and another fabulous bottle of wine. But let's go ahead and we'll bring in our guest, Frankie Ruprecht.
Yes. Hello, Frankie.
Hi.
Now, some of you may recognize Frankie Ruprecht from our time of the month in May.
Yeah.
We did a feature on the Cherokee Street virtual silent auction, and Frankie and her co-conspirator
Crew Jones. Yes.
Were wonderful guests on that time of the month, and we had already talked with Frankie about doing an episode with us for the podcast, and she has finally been able to find time in her schedule to spend time with us, and we are so happy that you are available today.
I am happy to be here. Always a good time with the two of you.
Yeah. Did you have a good time on the time of the month?
I did. We had such a good time. It was so fun to talk about the auction, and it just was great.
It was fun. It was
great.
Fun.
Well, Frankie's been someone that we've wanted to have a conversation with on the show for a long time. Frankie, you and we've crossed paths like just organically in St. Louis, like through, for the last couple of years. It's like we've run into each other like, hey, you look cool. You're wearing the most amazing thing. You're like, hey, you're cool. And we're at the same music venue, and we just keep circling around each other. We have mutual friends, multiple layers of mutual friends, and it's been always a delightful surprise to see you. You're like, oh, you're friends with them too. Okay, so it's just awesome that we have all
very
these
St. Louis connection story for us.
Absolutely, yeah. And we're neighbors. Like
we are neighbors.
Also cool. Yeah, I know.
That's super fun. We live in a great part of the city.
So diverse and lively and full of love and spirit. It's great.
It is.
Yeah. So what are you drinking?
I am drinking this. I know this is a wine show, and I'm not sure if it's backward or not.
No, it's right. Yeah.
Okay. I am not necessarily a wine drinker. I love Vino Verde. I love Rosé. I'm not like a wine drinker, but I am a bourbon, and really my favorite is rye. And this is Switchgrass Spirits. This is our very own St. Louis distillery. There's a couple of them, but they really focus on bourbon and rye and brandy and things like that. And they are only a couple of years old and just it's an amazing concept with amazing people, and I think they make an amazing product. So
Okay.
this is their rye.
What's the
And
price point on a bottle of their
price
rye?
point on this, part of their mission is to do whiskey for the people. Their company is all co-owned by the employees, and they really want to keep their product affordable. So it's about, I think, I hope I don't misquote this. I think I saw it at Schnucks for 27.
That is a good price.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
So it's in all of the places you would expect in St. Louis.
is.
But
It is.
does Switchgrass Spirits ship to any of our listeners who are not in St. Louis?
I don't know, but it's switchgrassspirits.com. That would be where to look for it. And they do self-distill. I mean, I'm sorry, they do self-distribute, excuse me.
Oh, okay.
I have already actually had a little bit, so, they self-distribute. Right? Good. Then we're on the same page. So they don't go through, the typical kind of distribution arms. They do it themselves. In fact, I just talked to Jerry today about connecting him with kind of a local third or fourth generation grocery store catering company called Westwood Catering that's connected to my family. And not that my family, well, we all worked there. That's how we're connected for jobs. And I grew up with Susie Westerbeck, who now owns it and runs it with her. So we're going to try to get them in there, see if there's a connection. There seems to be a good connection on like values and social responsibility and things like that. So and now is a good time.
I need to explain to our listeners why Frankie has the option to choose to drink whatever she wants, is that she's connecting with us through Zoom today. Because if she were in the studio with us, we'd have forced this bottle of wine down her throat. Because we are ruthless like that.
I would have happily. But yeah, tonight I just opened this up. So this isn't in the stores yet. It will be in there. I think it's July 31st, so a couple of days. But I got their Rye 100 Club. It is, it's delightful. It's like caramel.
That sounds amazing.
It's just how rye should taste.
If it were a panty, what kind of panty would it be? That sounded so lecherous.
Leopard print.
And like
it would be leopard print.
It would definitely be leopard. Yeah. Of whatever is most comfortable for you.
I love it.
Yes, a comfortable leopard. I prefer all of my big cats to be comfortable.
Some furry, some not.
That's
Just
right.
as long as it's smooth.
Very smooth and comfortable.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, we in the studio are
doing wine. We're staying true to our brand here. We're drinking an Italian wine by Paolo Manzoni. It's a Dolcetto D'Alba from 2019. This particular label is Magna. This is pretty yummy. We got it from our our friends, the wine merchant. They sell it for $12-13, and pretty much on the market you're going to find it around 20, so it's pretty good price point. I find on the nose I get the cherry, I get red cola, pepper, some licorice, even some eucalyptus. And I find that cherry and licorice and a little hint of that eucalyptus comes through on the palate. That's what I'm getting in the early stages of this bottle. Very interesting, kind of herbaceous and fruity all at once. I think it's lovely. What about you?
Well, I think it's a lovely wine as well. I think that the sniff is stronger right now than the sip. Like and it's so to me it's sort of like it doesn't the sip doesn't, you're expecting something different, and but the sip is very smooth. I have no idea what eucalyptus tastes like, so I'm just gonna let you have that one. I'm not gonna
Vicks.
Oh, well,
right, Vicks is like eucalyptus, right? But I'm getting some vanilla too, by the way, on the back end.
I'm getting a lot of grape, a lot of good
A lot of
grape,
grape.
a lot of really good grape, a lot of good red grape.
Little Welch's.
Get a lot of like a plump grape, like a plump, sweaty grape.
Uh-huh.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm getting.
It's been working out.
Little
Yeah.
jelly jar.
Been working out in the sun, 95-degree
Like,
weather.
you know, like a summer grape, you know, a
Yeah.
hot summer grape. No, it's delightful. I can't wait to continue to drink this. But for some reason, if this were a panty, I'm seeing like a pair of panties that are maybe like a leather with some satin connection, but with enough like little holes, not holes, but holders.
D-rings.
That I don't know, not necessarily D-ring, but like, you know, so you could either put like your flog or your screwdriver, you know, whatever you need.
Yeah, it needs,
you know,
so
yeah, like you might want to like throw in like a little, like a paddle there.
Yeah.
Or you might, it's a domination.
Yeah.
Or you might want to throw in, you know, like your paintbrush.
Yeah.
You know,
mean, those are
like,
D-hooks, right?
This wine has work to do.
It does.
Oh.
It does have work to
and what a
Yeah.
payoff for you when you're done with the work. That's what this wine is all about to me.
The payoff at the end.
Everything's always about the payoff at the end, Emily. You know, I only do things in life because of the payoff at the end.
Here's
Sometimes it takes a really long time to get to that payoff, but damn it, I'm all in.
Well, and we all define our payoff differently, right? Sometimes the payoff is monetary. Sometimes it's a good orgasm. Sometimes it's a great meal. Sometimes it's a great conversation. Sometimes it's friendship. Like, payoff can mean a wide variety of things.
It can, and for me, all of those things seem to take a really long time these days. But I'm in till the end. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get
Fully
there.
At least to the bottom of this bottle.
Committed to the bottom of the bottle.
Frankie already knows us. She knows that
Yep.
we're all in till the wine is gone.
Yes.
Right.
Thankfully, your bottle is new, and we don't expect you to finish your bottle along with us.
But no judgment if you do.
That's right. But I hope we might, though. You never know. You never know. You never know where the night will take us.
Yeah. So
I miss that about the before times.
I know.
Right?
Is that what you're calling it these days? The before time?
Yes. I think it has an epic historical tone to it, the before times.
Because there will never be the before times again.
No, well, I think we'll be different.
Yeah.
And I think some things about that are good.
Yeah.
I think things will be cleaner.
I hope so.
They already are.
They already are.
You know.
Yeah. Not my house, but other things are cleaner. But I've been doing a lot of dishes because, you know, I've been cooking because of the home with the kids and stuff like that. And it's like, I'll every day I'm just running the dishwasher. And I've actually become so laissez-faire about the dishwasher, is that even if it's not completely full, I'm running that sucker, because I don't mind actually emptying the dishwasher when it's like half full. It doesn't seem to take as long. I'm like, just run it.
I'm running that sucker. I like that. Doing it.
I'm just doing it. I'm living on the edge. So I can just always order more dishwasher packets, you know, on Amazon, and have it delivered in a couple days. It's like, why do that? Why wait till everything's packed in there so tight that it takes you half hour to unload? You're like, this is ridiculous. I could be doing something else.
Well, and you think about that, like that whole mindset. Like, we're loading the dishwasher to get every last inch to maximize that little packet. That is coming from a mindset of
scarcity.
Exactly.
Scarcity.
You know, as opposed to being like, you know what? I like having a clean house and clean dishes. You know, I'm going to just clean the one rack and put them away. And there's always going to be more ways to clean these dishes. There's always going to be more food. There's always going to be more meals,
Well, and when I only have to empty half a dishwasher, I feel that reward so much sooner.
Yeah.
It's like more instantaneous. Look at me. I empty the dishwasher. I put everything away. Extra points. I got extra points for
So
that.
accomplished today. I did the dishes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So little
And being
rewards.
responsible.
Yeah. And I think those rewarding ourselves in acknowledging that is important, especially, I mean, it's always important, period. But here we are in this time of isolation and less connection and honoring the things that, make us feel good. I think that's important.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I think what's been going to be hard is with all of the continuing growth in the cases and the new restrictions or old restrictions putting back in place,
Yeah.
and in St. Louis County, and I wonder how we will do isolating again. I mean, you and I are so happy to be here in the studio
Right.
with each other, as opposed to the 3.5
Yeah.
months where we were
Yeah.
doing all
It was
of this
hard.
stuff
It was really hard.
online.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I mean, I have a lot of faith in what Shock City does in the cleaning, and I don't have any feeling of that we're at risk here,
Right.
but still.
And we've done a very good job of quarantining and quarantining. So
Right.
I feel
Yeah,
there's comfort here, but it is still scary, like going out there just to go grocery shop, it's because there are people who aren't respecting the boundaries, there are people who think it's a ruse, a political game, and that to me is just astounding, because you just have to look at the science. You just have to look at the data to see that it's not a ruse.
yeah. Yeah, and the thing is that if they say that if this is all created and made up by the Democrats to make Trump look bad, it's like, really, if you think we had the ability to have an entire world pretend to have a virus just so you could look bad, don't you think we would have done better in the 2016 elections?
Right.
Don't you think that we would have been better? Yeah. So, and I know.
He didn't need a virus to look bad. What?
Oh, right.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that. Yeah. You can say that
Oh,
again if you need to.
I said what
I think
said.
that should be printed on a mask that everybody at the White House could wear.
Yeah. So how are things going? I know that you have transitioned out of your, long-time corporate world.
Yes. I don't think I'm ever going back. It was a great experience in 25 years of my life, but holy cow, I am really happy not to be behind the desk. Just living my life and taking a little bit of a break. I am fortunate that, because of my years of experience there, I did get some, they're not calling it severance, but I got some assistance from the company.
Okay.
So I'm really, really, really fortunate in that way. If like so many of the people that I know, if my income had dried up overnight, like the industry people that we are friends with and that we rely on to quite frankly for so many things, I mean their income dried up overnight. If that had happened to me, I wouldn't be saying that I'm not that mad about this layoff, but that wasn't the case for me, and I'm not mad about it. I am easing into retirement quite well. I don't think I'm ever going to go. But it's given me an opportunity. It's given me the break that I've needed ever since my husband died, because all I've wanted is kind of everything to stop. So sorry, I may have manifested this break for all of us. Sorry.
No, I don't think I don't think you can put all of that on you.
No, not all of it.
Yeah.
But quarantine for me was not, I mean, parts of it were uncomfortable and lonely and things like that, of course, but parts of it were a little bit of a breath of fresh air, because I got to have a break from any commitments.
Well, how long did you work a corporate career?
Almost 25 years. It would have been 25 years in December.
So, I think it's okay to be unapologetic about the fact that you're ready for something new. You
Yeah.
obviously had a very traumatic life switch fairly recently, which I, hope we can talk about a little bit more. But,
Sure.
we've got, I think our paths when we're young, most of us don't have a real clear idea of where we really want to be and who we really are. And so we kind of go down this path that feels right, socially speaking, the parents' approval. There's all these things that help us decide where we're going to go. And 25 years later, saying, I'm okay redefining my life now.
Yeah.
Like, I have a very solid sense of who I am as a person. I've lived, I've lost, things that are important to me. And it's time to live life on my own terms. I think it's a really powerful place to be.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I spent so many years working. And this isn't anything against GE. GE is a great company to work for with lots of opportunities. But you work. You work. The last job that I had, I could do that in about 40, 50 hours a week. That was an anomaly for my entire career. The last job that I had before this, which was 5 of the last 6 years of Armen's life, I worked about 80 hours a week, typical. There were some weeks that I worked 120 hours.
Wow.
When I switched jobs again within the company and took the job that I have now, or had that I left or got laid off from, I'm still working on the language, clearly. But it was, a 40-hour or so a week job. And I remember Armen saying, I was cooking dinner, and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm cooking dinner. He's like, oh, this is gonna be great. It's gonna be so great. And it was a godsend that I switched jobs when I did. I didn't know what was coming, but and looking back, I will never, unless it's my own business and my passion and it really fulfills my life, which probably would include my closest people, right?
Right.
I'm never going to work 80 hours a week again.
Oh my gosh. No.
All that time was spent working for
someone else's dream, right?
The what?
Someone else's dream.
Someone else's. Well, and not really even someone else's. A corporation is, it's for the stockholders, and it's really just like we were just talking about. It's really just about making money, and that's no shame on that. Make money, but I'm gonna make money a different way. And so this has given me a chance to kind of reevaluate my relationship with money. I think I worked so long at GE is partially because of my relationship with money, and so now I have a chance to redefine that as well, which is
sounds very liberating.
Great.
Sounds like you sound very liberated. Like you've been freed from.
That is exactly how I described it. I was like, it's my first day of freedom.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going back. And it also, other things align with my values and my focus and what I think is important, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens, especially as I get close to like running out of money. I may come back on the show and be like, I'm singing a different tune. In fact, here's my resume. This is what I can do.
This is my GoFundMe.
Here's
so
Venmo.
I worked in corporate America for, less than 5 years. I mean, I've worked at other, like I worked in not-for-profit. I worked, that's pretty much government, and I work in government now, but I worked in corporate America for less than 5 years. And then when a couple of years ago, when it was there was a little worry that my agency was going to be going away, I started having these dreams, and I knew they were anxiety dreams. And one dream, and you guys are going to laugh, I'd like your interpretation of it as well. started a new job, and it was at a corporation, right? Some, corporate job.
Yeah.
It was my first day on the job, and I go, and I don't have any shoes on. And I
Oh.
spend the whole day trying to pull my pants over my toes so nobody can tell that I don't have any shoes on.
Oh.
It's
That is
like,
interesting.
Shoes are a foundation, right?
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
not a dream interpreter, other than going, well, I guess you don't ever want to work for a corporation again. It was like, it wasn't, I
feel like
showed up with,
I feel like being barefoot is almost like our natural state.
Yeah,
Like
but the fact that you were afraid to be in that natural state, right?
but you were trying to cover it up. You felt like,
Right.
well, I didn't want anybody to notice that I didn't have any shoes on, because then I might lose my job. So maybe it's all, I don't want people to know who I really am. They might fire me.
Well, you definitely let people know who you are here.
Oh yeah, yes, right.
Right.
So, so I was like, I just remember waking up and going, wow, that was crazy, Michelle. Because you know how you like pull your pants down over your toes? You know how you can like stretch your pants? I was walking around the office in my dream with my pants stretched over my toes in orientation.
I think it's interesting that, okay, so this is so interesting because like the fact that you were wearing pants, even, like I would have been, if it was my dream and I was going to work for the first time, I'd be wearing a dress because I wear dresses all the time. Like, so
yes.
what does that signify that you wear pants? Like there's a power play in wearing pants, but you were barefoot. So that's like a vulnerability,
Or-
and then you're trying to cover that.
Mhm.
I think that's very intriguing. When was this?
This was a couple of years ago when
pre-podcast.
or like right after the podcast, when there was all
Nice.
that talk about, merging, then I was concerned.
Okay.
I had
All
just
right.
a little concerned, but I haven't had that dream since.
Okay.
Yeah. But I was like, well, obviously you just don't, I can't do corporate. And I know that I'm very, very happy with the job that I have. And I have been very happy there for 14 years.
Mhm.
And because it's perfect for my personality, because I can do things like this podcast. Like if either of us were working a job or at 80 to 100 hours a week, we couldn't do this podcast.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
there's
You don't really have
definitely
time for anything.
Well, aside from the time factor, there's also the, I did the corporate thing too, and my individual voice didn't matter. In fact, it was frowned upon. Like I had to tone my personality down. I had to tone my dress down. I had to do I had to not be me to be successful. And which is incredibly sad. I was successful in it, but I was dying inside because I wasn't me, and so I think that's,
well, but then there are people who are there are women and men who are very successful in the corporate world, and
that's where
right.
they should be.
they thrive there, and
right.
and just as we need people to be successful in the corporate, we need people to be successful at the industry level. You better
Absolutely.
At the
we need to
labor
have
level,
I mean,
all of them, right?
we need
There's
to have
nothing inherently wrong with the, C Corp structure. It doesn't necessarily breed, doesn't necessarily mean like in the legal definition of a C Corp that you have to do this, this, and this. But our culture has led to a lack of individuality, a lack of individual voices in that space. And maybe that'll change. Maybe that's one of the good of this significant change for our culture. Who knows?
Yeah, I think there's some of the younger, hipper kind of companies that some of the, like when the young tech.com companies came into play, they were all about personality and, and I think I do think it's a misstep, even in corporations to, you're hiring talent. You hope you're hiring talent.
You're investing.
Why not embrace their who they really are to connect with the clients in that, in a very meaningful way. Like you're going to have loyalty beyond what you ever had with really letting people shine.
Well, do you think it's because we operate as this in a society from the scarcity mindset? They always think that there's only one pie, and there's only so much in that pie, and if I give all of us equal parts, when I think I should get 2/3 because I worked harder than you did on this pie, as opposed to like if in a corporation, I only have this much money, I can't spend it, rather than everybody works and creates a much bigger pie,
right?
Like an
I
infinite
the difference
pie.
between the patriarchy and the matriarchy. I do. I think scarcity and competition is inherent in patriarchy. And I think what you described, Michelle, is inherently matriarchal, where we can all kind of work together and thrive together, and that's success.
And I have another anecdote to put the button on that. When I was after I'd had my first child, my daughter, and then I was pregnant with my second child, and I was talking to my secretary at the time in the group that I worked at, and she was an older woman, had 4 kids, and I was like, oh, I'm happy to be pregnant. I was excited about it, but I was worried at the same time, because how was I going to be able to love the new baby as much as I love my daughter? And she said to me, she goes, the thing about it is that a mother's heart just grows and expands. We expand love. Love is not finite. Love just grows and grows, and you will love every child that you have as much as that first child. No one is going to be less loved because of it.
Wow. Does that overlap the widow experience?
Pardon me?
That really overlaps the widow experience.
So break that down a little more. Share with me.
Just like when you have your second child, then how could you possibly love another human being like you love your first child, but your love grows? Yeah, I've had people say to me, how could you ever love somebody as much as Armen? And I'm like, what? Like no, love isn't finite. Love isn't scarce. I don't have to divide it up.
Yeah.
Because through this experience, my love for myself and for people and for love in general has, what is the right word? Expanded, but in like an exponential sense.
Like exploded.
Like exploding, but in a good way.
Yeah.
The word is for that. It enveloping.
Compounded.
Yes, it compounds.
Well,
because there isn't scarcity of it. There's not a scarcity of love.
And let me ask you this, just this philosophical take on that. That belief in love, and I believe it too, that it grows, it expands, that it's infinite. That's a solace to somebody who's lost someone they love so deeply. Because if you feel that it's finite, then you feel that it'll never happen again.
Oh, for sure. And that would be, I mean, maybe I've made choice. I think maybe we all make choices in how we look at the world, the lens that we look through. But my choice is definitely to believe that I can love like that again and be loved like that again. Because without that, that's a very grim reality. That means living the rest of my life not ever being loved like that again. Oof.
Aside from
I'm gonna need more.
Go for the
drink from the bottle.
Right? No, seriously. And that isn't like what I just did there is a very true thing. I think,
grief can certainly take you down that
feel better.
Making that choice though, again, out of a saying, I don't want to not love again out of fear that I can't love again. Like that's again like a negative, right, road path. I kind of like to think of, I think love is kind of like a muscle, right? And So you go to the gym, you work out, your muscles get stronger. More you drink wine, your taste buds grow to develop the taste for nuances for wine. And I think love is the same way, like what you're talking about, Michelle. You have more children, more love grows. It's the same kind of thing. The more you practice it, the more orgasms you have, the more you have the capacity to have them. It's the same kind of thing, right?
Yes, it really is.
Yeah. So, make the conscious choice to say, I don't have to end it here. In fact, the whole world, me, of course, is included in that, has everything to benefit by me exercising more love. I think what might be interesting to explore, though, is, is there any shame, tied to that? So socially speaking, like if you're a widow, right, and you're like, hey, I want to exercise that love muscle, right? Is there shame or regret, or what are the emotions tied to that dynamic?
I would say I'm pretty good at deflecting shame. People who know me well will probably laugh at that, but so I'm gonna term it as judgment.
Okay.
And I would say this, that everything a widow does is judged. It doesn't matter when you start dating again, what you do with your job, if you move, if you don't move, if you change your hair, if you don't change your hair, if you gain weight, don't gain weight, lose weight, whatever. Everything is judged. And
it's tied to that, right?
Yes, everything is judged. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has something that they want to tell you that you should do. And really, I think what that is that I've experienced something that we all know will happen. We will lose someone we love. Undoubtedly, if we're loving at all, we will lose them. So we know that, like in the back of our lizard brain, right? But it's so painful, we don't want to see it. We don't want to think about it. So I think rather than kind of deal with that, people have ways of kind of trying to work around it, or trying to make it better, or that type of thing. So yeah, there's so much judgment. It's shocking.
More than you found being judged as a woman. I feel like we're constantly judged, but like as soon as you had the widow moniker being asked about, like,
regular, life before judgment. Yeah. Life is a widow judgment.
Really? Okay.
Oh, it's off the charts.
And does it matter
from the get-go?
Because you're young? I mean,
yeah,
if you were a 75-year-old widow.
Yeah. Yes. And that's true with most death. When the death of your child isn't supposed to happen, right? You're not supposed to bury your child. They're supposed to bury you. Mm-hmm. So when death happens when it shouldn't happen, people don't know what to do.
Right.
And there's much more to it. So yeah, when you become a widow in your 70s or 80s, which I'm saying this because it doesn't make it any easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it makes it harder because you've had even more years with this person, or maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But yeah, when death happens when it isn't supposed to.
When it's unexpected.
When it's unexpected, right?
Much like the 150,000 people who've died, whose families have had loved ones die of COVID.
Right.
Unexpected.
Yeah, it really gets to me when politicians put the risk in terms of percentages.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so low.
Children.
1% of our population would still be 3 million people.
Wow, that's really dehumanizing.
Isn't it?
I mean, it really chafes me. It really gets, like, if I focus on that, that'll really get me down.
We don't want to get you down. We don't want to get you down, but we were talking about
to protect myself, like on a day-to-day basis. Like, what am I going to think about? am I going to put my mind on? Because if I think about some of the crassness of our culture, that's too much. So I have to keep myself healthy mentally on that one.
Yeah.
So how long has it been since your husband passed away?
5.5 years. It'll be 6 years, October 1st.
Okay. So are you able to describe what the first 6 months of after his death, what that was like for you?
Yeah. The first 3 months were shock. And the next 3 months were drinking.
Was this I'm sorry, because I'm sorry to even go further into this story a little bit. I'm curious, was it expected or unexpected?
No,
it wasn't
no,
expected.
it was unexpected and in front of me.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of I don't know what's worse. We didn't have to go through years of sickness, right? He didn't have to suffer.
Yeah.
On the other hand, we didn't have years to say everything that we wanted to say.
Yeah, to prepare.
And getting used
to the idea that he would be gone.
I don't think you ever get used to it, but at least you have some awareness that time is short.
Some preparation.
We didn't have that. So yeah, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. Pretty traumatizing. Yeah. So the first 3 months
together.
We had been together, I believe it was 18 years total.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I was 44. He was 57. So we were about 13 years apart. He lied about his age to date me. Somehow he knew. We met when I was 25, so he was 35. Okay. Somehow he knew that I wouldn't, or no, he was 38. Somehow he knew that if he told me that he was 38, I would have been like, no. So he told me that he was 35. He recanted it years later and then took it back. I'm like, it doesn't work that way. But he was a Pisces, and that's reality is very
perception. It's their own perception.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you've been married 18 years when he passed, and you said the first 3 months were shock, the second 3 months were drinking.
Yeah. The first 3 months were it was such it's something I hope I never have to experience again, and I wouldn't wish on anybody. But the first 3 months were pretty much shock, and then that wore off. Shock. I've learned that shock is kind of a comfort. It's a buffer. It's our mind going, you're not ready for all of this.
Right.
You can't all in, and you really can't. So we're just going to anesthetize you for a little while.
Yeah.
Until you're ready to take more in. And that happened in about January. And then I could burn through bourbon like a champion.
Right.
I really did. Because the anxiety kicked in, the shock wore off, the reality of my situation kicked in, and I could drink so much more than I could now, shockingly. But again, that's also another kind of survival response. It's that heightened state once shock wears off of anxiety, and just everything's amped up. So
I think
a little bit of sedative brought it down, and then about maybe 6 months after that, I termed it that the bourbons turned on me because I just couldn't. It would bring me, then I got to the point where if I drank too much, I would go too dark.
Sure.
Because the anxiety was ebbing a bit. And we get a little bit better. Even though it doesn't sound like it got better, that was actually a good sign, probably, that I wasn't so amped up that I could drink so much and not have an effect on me. Like I was burning it off.
Yeah.
With emotion.
Do you think, and this is open this question for both of you, it's commentary on our society. Grief is like a really hard emotion for us to process as a friend of somebody who's grieving, or as somebody who's grieving. It feels like it is the loneliest emotion.
Oh, it is.
that we experience.
Well, it's the loneliest emotion that I've dealt with.
think I always feel helpless when I see someone going through grief because I want to
You know
help,
what? We
but you don't
should
know
talk about that.
how.
Like,
Yeah.
that's a really good thing. I'm glad that you said that, because honestly, that's the way through it.
What
I
do you
feel
mean?
I don't know what to do for you, and I wish I could.
Mhm.
I wish I could
Yeah.
take it. That vulnerability is so welcomed,
Mhm.
because not having that, um, we don't know what to do, but we try to do something, and typically we'll do the wrong thing.
Right.
But
Because we're
that,
forcing an idea that is of our own experience on someone else, and
yeah,
it's not necessarily the other person's experience
that's right.
socially, culturally, familially,
You
like
know,
no matter,
and
yeah.
and that translates to lots of areas of our lives, like racially,
Mm-hmm.
and we're all white, right? We should not assume to know what the Black experience is. Like, and
Absolutely.
it is
Yeah.
okay to say, I don't know it because I've never experienced that.
Mm-hmm.
And and let me learn how to help. Let me learn how to
Right.
be an ally. Let me get
Mhm.
educated on what life is like in this country for people of color and indigenous people. Like when men don't understand what it's like to be a woman, it's
Mm-hmm.
really refreshing when they when they have that self-awareness, and then
Right.
they try to get educated and try to learn and try to get better.
Ask
Same,
questions, right?
same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what is it that scares us as a society about grief? About that? I mean,
Vulnerability.
Unknown.
the pain, the utter emotional pain.
The pain, the loneliness, and the vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because we can't, it's not something you can just fix. It isn't. I mean, the way to fix it is to bring that person would never have died. That's the
Mm-hmm.
fix. And a friend of mine lost her brother unexpectedly. He was young. He was 39, heart attack. I went to the memorial service, and when I thought the pastor, I thought what he said was brilliant. And he said the thing about death is like, don't you, he said, let yourself, let that expectation that life is going to be the same, because it's never going to be the same. That person is not in your life, so that person is no longer living. So everything that you experience that they were there is never going to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
So don't try. So it's okay that it's not the same. And to sort of, I've not done a very good job of
No, I
explaining
think
what
that's
he was
beautiful.
I
saying.
actually
I
think you nailed
do. I
it.
mean,
And that applies to everything we're living in right now, the before
Yeah.
time,
yeah.
and now with COVID and what will happen. That expectation, and that here's what I think, and these are the people that I've struggled with the most, and some in my family and some not, or some just strangers or whatever. But when we have an idea and an expectation of how life will be, and we cling to it,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't allow for
Doesn't serve
absurdity,
us.
and it
Yeah.
doesn't serve us, and it doesn't allow for change. And I think the scariest part of the grief experience is the absurdity of life, meaning that we are, even though we've lived, however long we've lived, human life is extremely fragile.
Yeah.
And any one of us could be gone tomorrow,
Yeah.
or in an hour. And that is not something that people want to have in their brain. It's like trying to keep this idea that it could all be over in an hour with let's plan for the future. And that's a really
Mm-hmm.
difficult thing to do. And letting go of how we think life should be. There of course is a balance there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can't all be chaos.
Mm-hmm.
We have to decide how we want to be. But having an idea of what will happen, or how life is going to be, being open to it not fitting our paradigms, is
Mm-hmm.
It's a very difficult thing to do, but it's a very strong thing to be able to do. And that's one of the gifts of grief.
Yeah, there's a responsibility to the possible future, right?
Yes.
There's also a responsibility to be open for life to unfold organically, right? To see the things that come your way. COVID comes and changes everything, right? Or the company closes that you're working for, whatever it is, to be able to be flexible enough to say, I'm going to continue to explore life. Right.
No matter what.
I think that's a great sentiment. However, that you don't get to that on the first day.
No,
and it could be months, it could be after 3 months of drinking bourbon, or however, and we have to give ourselves permission to feel
grieve.
the loss and to grieve. I mean, we are grieving the loss of our before times.
Well,
That
true.
we are, and everybody copes with that differently. And we are, I mean, I feel fortunate that the loss of relationships in my life have not been because of death, but I have had friends who've lost husbands. And I remember one friend said to me that she said, all of my plans for the future now, I have to like figure it out without him. Like these dreams of like where we would be when we were 60 would be together, and now this dream I have would not include him. And like, to not include somebody in what you wanted to do together in the future was really eye-opening. To hear that.
We had just Armen and I had just completed foster care training to adopt through foster care.
Wow.
We weren't ever able to have kids of our own, but he would have just been the most amazing dad. And so we, looked through adoption, whatever, and came to wanting to adopt through foster care, had gone through the training, had our first, they call them an interview. And we weren't, luckily, we were not chosen as the family for the child that we had interviewed for, because just maybe less than a month later, Armen died.
Oh my gosh.
Was it? I'm sorry. Was it a heart attack? Was it an accident?
Heart attack.
Okay.
Yep. Heart attack.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, having your life blow up is completely is a mind-blowing experience. And it's also the gifts of it have been, I try to focus on the positive.
Yeah.
I love that.
I can, while being real about the pain of it.
Yeah.
But it does allow me a certain ability now that I've practiced, like practicing love or practicing compassion, practicing listening, whatever it is, sex. I've been able to practice this rebuilding and refiguring and evaluating the thing. Now I can go into a situation and still feel like I think I'm going to be okay no matter what happens. And
how long did that take you to feel that way?
Oh, like yesterday. I mean,
good thing we had a podcast today. I mean, perfect.
And maybe I'm not really, maybe I'm giving myself a little bit too much credit, but hopefully now I can feel like I'll be okay. And there's a little bit of leveling out, right? And I tend to like the highs and the lows. Life is more dynamic that way, right? But there's a little bit of like Zen leveling out, like that Buddhist teaching about the farmer comes to the Zen Buddhist teacher and says, it's raining, my crops they're drowned and it's going to be horrible. And the Zen teacher says, it'll pass. And then a couple weeks later he comes and says, my bounty is awesome, it's better than I ever expected. And the Zen teacher says, it'll pass. So that kind of leveling out of response to what happens it's good and bad. You know, it's not as high and low, but maybe that's better. So.
Well, let's circle back to that.
Yeah.
The societal perceptions of how a widow should behave and should feel.
Yeah.
And, you know, let's talk about, let's just shatter those expectations, and how you can be like a true friend, you know, what to somebody, you know, because Emily and I currently are not widows.
Yeah.
How can we be good friends to,
but we
have friends?
Interestingly enough, we have multiple friends that are young widows.
Yeah.
And,
So, you know, what's
I guess I would start that conversation with this, is that it's inevitable that movie, The Notebook, throw it out. No offense to anybody, but that movie pisses me off because you're not going to die together. So it's a bit inevitable that one of you will die before the other. Someone will be left here. So this is, and the fact that we don't talk about it as a society, and that we want to look the other way, and we don't want to deal with this reality of life. Death is a part of life. It's like being born, just like all of the other developmental steps. It is a part of life. It will happen.
So it's one of the greatest truths of life, right?
Right.
It's
Death and taxes.
Yeah.
It is. It's an incredible equalizer. So that's kind of the foundation that it will happen. And in terms of, what was it, shattering expectations,
what we expect, the widows and I mean, we'll just focus on widows, because widowers, you know,
just and this would go probably for widowers too. Just shatter them all, because everybody's different, and everybody's marriage relationship or partnership or whatever is different, and each person is different, and what they need is different. And I guess the ultimate would be to just follow their lead, find out what they need, find out what they want, or maybe don't ask, and just show up with something they might like, or here's the hardest thing for people: just sit there. Just be with them. And don't be uncomfortable with their grief. At the same time as I do see one mistake is, this is kind of a big one, people put their own grief on the griever. Like, don't do that. Like just like manage your shit, and just be there as a vessel. Just a human companion to sit next to the person who's in crisis.
Sure. Don't be the person that's like, I know how you feel. This is what happened to me when, right?
Oof.
Yeah, exactly.
Or not as bad as, or you ought to.
Or
I that I ought to continue with adoption.
Or when they want you to comfort them because they are grieving hard for your spouse that you've just lost. And you're like, wait a second.
And that there's a very fine line there, right? Because I don't ever want anybody to hurt, but I love when people, here's the big thing, talk about this person that's passed. Love, like the thought about, I didn't really love talking, like when I was thinking about preparing for tonight, I was like, oh, what am I going to talk about with widowhood? But then I was like, oh, I can talk about Armen, unfettered for as long as, that's a gift to be able to kind of hold space for the grieving person, to just prattle on and on about this person.
Tell us some things about him that you just
adore. And this is the main thing about Armen. I'll try to do it without tearing up. And his gift and hope. So I watched a movie or something the other day, and it was kind of about who tells your story. And I thought, ooh, this is hitting me hard. But his story is about loving people. He was the best at it. And that's the best thing I can say about anyone, that they were just really good at loving people. And he was. And there's so many things about him. He was a Oriental rug expert, and he loved the Green Bay Packers, and he loved to barbecue, and he loved to do all those things. But mostly he just loved people. And that experience, that's really important for today. You know, we haven't talked about this yet, but that especially in our community right here, South City, especially in the service industry, a lot of people being called out, a lot of men being called out for inappropriate behavior, right? And what I always think is that men are, it's a complicated conversation for me to have, because I love men so much, because I've had this experience with Armen of being loved by a good man. It's the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
And so many women have never had that experience, not from their father, not from their brothers, not from their boyfriends, husbands. We haven't been loved appropriately and well. Appropriately in terms of like appropriate affection, appropriate behavior, and loved well in terms of loved completely and loved for who we are. I had that. So that's a story that I feel like I need to put out into the world, like what it's like to be loved by a good man.
And it's important for like men and young men to hear what it means to love like a good man does. You know, what
Like
does it mean to love like a good person? You know, what does all that mean? Because we don't want to be discriminatory on our podcast, you know, because we have same-sex relationships and things, but I think it comes down to like, what does it mean to be what does it mean to love? And I remember, and I can't think of, I remember, but I can't think of the guru or philosophy, but I remember reading one time that somebody said you need to love and date or be in a relationship as how you would want to be treated. I know that's like what Jesus says, right? Treat others like you want to be treated. But really, like if you can't show up and be A, B, C, D, E for your partner, you can't expect your partner to be A, B, C, D, E for you.
True. That's very true.
And when you are ready to be those things to somebody else, then that comes back to you. Does that make sense?
I think that's like the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you would have done. But I think the platinum rule is do unto others how they want to have done or be loved. Love others like they want to be loved. And man, I mean, he was the uncle you always wished you had, the brother you always wished you had, or brother-in-law, the husband, clearly.
The neighbor.
He just was that person. Like he had this innate understanding of, like even my second cousin, when they met, she shared this story with me later, and it was before he died. But it was that they had just met, and somehow he could sense that she had something on her mind. So he just had a way with people. I mean, that's specific to him. But what it highlights is being able to sense where someone else is at and then respond in a way that's open to them is so powerful and so healing and so selfless and kind of the essence of love. Then we need more of that.
So what it means is you have to look outside and see how others around you are being affected, because unfortunately in our current environment, we are actually walking and marching around and expecting, not reaching out and saying, hey, how are you? How are you feeling? But more like stomping our feet. You need to pay attention to how I feel. Like all, you know, very, very selfish, very individualistic. However, you know, when Corona quarantine started, we were all in this together. You know, you had the Facebook groups come out, things like that. We could all band together, and it's just sort of wilted apart because you know why? No, this is not, you know why, but it loving, although it's easy, it does take effort and dedication, right?
It's very selfless. It's very
selfless, but you also get so much back, you know.
That's what I was gonna say.
You don't love in a vacuum.
And
you know?
this goes back to the scarcity and the what about me and you know all that stuff. Giving love away, just loving, just that act makes you stronger. And being able to love, even when you know, and I don't mean abusive, but being able to love, even when you know there's nothing in it for you, or this person may be gone tomorrow, or they may move on, and they may decide they don't love me like they love me right now, or whatever.
But it does come back to you. It does make you stronger.
It does make you stronger.
Giving love is like doing the push-ups. It's like doing the right.
If you're loving without an agenda, if you just love, you know, because I think when people are like, well, you know, I like
that's
loving
not
her.
Love. If you're doing it with an agenda, that's not love.
But people misconstrue the two. They're and so I think 65% of our world thinks that love should be agenda oriented. Like my ex,
I think the
husband
higher,
but I remember he said to me at the end of our relationship, end of our marital relationship, he said, I only do things if I think I'm going to get out of it for you.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
So we, you know, loving, yes, you're going to get back in 10, 15, 20 fold, whatever, 100 fold, but you can't expect it. If you're truly love, you can't expect, okay, I gave you that cookie, why didn't you give me 2 cookies back? I mean, we're trying to get immediate gratification.
Yep.
And it doesn't happen that way.
That's not really what it's supposed to be. It's the experience of being there for someone else.
Truly loving somebody is actually freedom, because there is no expectation on that person.
That's right.
And there's this freedom with that, because you know that I have loved him, her completely, and I'm okay with however any of this. I know I'm okay because I've loved completely, and it's freedom, and it's liberating. And when you have that experience, like you had with Armen, what a gift for you.
Yeah.
And for everybody who's had that.
And you know, I didn't have this perspective when he was here. I was terrified of losing him because I loved him so much. So the gift, in a way, there are gifts that come from grief, and I think one of them is being able to just love in the moment. Just
no longer be afraid of losing. So instead of occupying half your brain of like, oh my God, what if he dies? Or he leaves me, blah, blah, and you're worried about that. What if we break up? You're like,
yeah. Let's talk about that for a minute. So I think we want to talk about shattering
myths,
expectations, and then there was something else, which I can't remember.
It's okay. Yeah.
But I think the one most important thing is as much as like every love story, every rock and roll song, muscle cars, a lot of fashion is all about like trying to get this person that we love, right? Trying to win the girl or win the guy or whatever. And then what? You know, like what happens there? We don't really think about that. We're just like, okay, we're set now.
Yeah,
we're set.
Yeah. We got him.
But on the other hand, what I see from so many people is that while our culture is all like idealizing love and all that, most people are terrified of it because it can kill you. I mean, the loss of it is so scary that people are so terrified. And so what I tell people, and this is going to sound awful, but this is how I say it, is that first of all, you can choose who you're with, but you don't choose who you love. You just fall in love with them.
Mhm.
You don't have to choose to be with them, but you don't really choose it. It just kind of happens. So once you love someone, I'm just gonna, because we're on this podcast, so I can say whatever.
Yeah.
Once you love someone, you're fucked. You're fucked because you already love them. Your heart's already gone. You've given them your heart. And the best case is what I've had, sadly to say. But the best case is that you live until, death do you part.
Yeah.
But you will part. And the other alternative is that you break up. People are so terrified of giving themselves like over to a relationship because they're so afraid of breaking up. And my perspective is, well, you already love them, which means you're fucked.
Yeah.
So either, unless you die first.
So get in there and do it right.
So while you're in the middle of it, before you break up, before one of you die, give it your all.
Yeah.
Like, give it your all. In the middle, don't settle for something that's miserable, because you're going to be miserable later. You got time for that.
Yeah.
That's coming.
Yeah.
So while you're in the middle of it, have it be great. Have it be incredible. Have it be beautiful. Be 100% in. Don't put a toe in and, what do they call that in boxing? Where you fake your punch.
I have
whatever.
no idea.
Where you fake your punches. Like just be in. And I don't mean
punch? I don't know.
In terms of love, but like don't fake it. Like be all in. Love completely. Give it your all.
Yeah.
To give it a chance to be great.
Yeah. I dated this guy.
The doom is coming.
I dated this guy one time that when we first started dating, he was always talking about like, well, when we no longer are together, when we break up, I'm like, why are you obsessed with when we're ending? I feel like why is that like on the forefront of your mind when we should just be enjoying today?
Yes. It feels really dark, and I'm sure it sounds really dark.
It's profound, Frankie. I think it's incredibly important what you're saying.
It's not the Notebook. It will not be the Notebook.
No, but if you can liberate yourself.
It's you've got to make conscious choices to be where you really want to be, because no matter what, it's ending, right? So make sure you're where you really want to be.
That while you're here, while you're in it, while you have this person, that you're in it.
Yeah.
That you're in it, and that this person is in it. And if they're not really in it, move on.
Then move on, because
but he might be in it tomorrow.
Well, then deal with that tomorrow.
I mean, it's all of those things we say to each other, to ourselves. It's just like
we tell ourselves.
Right? It's so simple, right? But it really is profound.
It is.
Yes.
And it's a key. If I could get more people to understand that, I think people would be happier. I think people wouldn't waste the time that they have settling for a relationship that doesn't make them happy.
That's going to end anyway.
Going to end anyway. Why are you miserable? Oh,
such wisdoms here from our widow friends.
What a brain.
It's,
wisdom and bourbon drinking.
We got a little red wine over here,
man.
and it's flowing. So.
But yeah, that's super heavy. But that's the key thing that I could say. Sorry, I just interrupted you, Michelle.
That's all right. Emily does it all the time.
I think in a good conversation, that's just always happening because we're like, yes,
Oh, wait.
I can chime in. Yes.
Hold on. You know,
I'm there with you.
I've got the floor now.
I have a point.
You know, so let's like, you know, wrap this up on a positive, on a, you know, you are such a joy to be around and to have conversation with, and I cannot wait till, you know, we can do this in person in
The after times.
the three-dimensional. But you know, what is your love horizon looking like? I mean, are you dating? Are you running through the young boys, bringing them in, kicking them out, you know, or are you like just buying a bunch of cats and having a bunch of cats at home? I mean, like are you ready for that love again?
Yeah. So you know, usually I keep this topic pretty to myself, but
yeah, but we're on a podcast called Clitorally
that's
Speaking.
Right. So it's really just us. No,
just us
but
girls.
2,000 listeners, I guess I'll share with. No, I am dating. Now that assumes, that kind of sounds
Does
like
he know?
I am. Here's what I should say. I am available for dating.
Okay.
But yeah, you know, that's the other beauty of having been loved well. And let's talk about this if we have time. You cut me off.
Yeah.
But so having been loved well, sometimes men are very intimidated by that. Back to is there enough love for everyone?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Kind of bringing it full circle. No one should be intimidated to date a widow, because dating a widow is actually awesome because they can love so much and they've survived so much. So it's not ever going to be a competition with the deceased. Because they're dead.
Yeah.
You know, they're gone. And yes, they were wonderful and it was great. But having survived that means that I can love all the better. Now, not everyone survives it, but they're still alive.
Yeah.
You know, so that's for everybody to figure out. But if you can survive that and really live and be open to love, it means your potential for love is infinite. So a lot of people have concerns about dating a widow, which is bizarre to me, but I guess I understand it, but not really, honestly, because I think it just comes from the of scarcity.
I think that you run no greater risk of having the widow call out a deceased spouse's name as if you were dating somebody who had an ex-boyfriend and she called out the ex-boyfriend's name. I mean, I don't think that alive. And he's still alive. So I don't think I don't think you're running a higher risk. No. Somebody's going to call somebody else's name out on you eventually.
And wouldn't it kind of be a compliment? I mean, wouldn't it kind of be?
Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah.
You know? I mean, maybe, but and that it hasn't actually happened to me. But you
don't know.
You never know. But it would be a compliment to think of, you know.
If you were fucking me like my deceased husband used to fuck me, that means you're pretty good, right? Yeah.
Right. You know, and that's the other thing that when somebody dies, we tend to sanctify them. And we shouldn't really do that. He was a human being just like everyone else. He was really good at loving people, as I've mentioned. But he was not perfect.
Yeah.
He was not perfect.
Okay, well, let's stop here. I want you guys to sanctify me, though, when I'm gone. I just want that. I mean, I'm putting out there now. You know, all of
no flaws.
Exactly. Let's.
None.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's good. Practice that. Yeah. Shrines are fine. I'm okay with that. Just to be right next to the Virgin Mary.
Pour out the wine.
like Madonna's and Michelle. You know, like
we should make this my dating profile. You know, can love well. Deceased husband was not a saint. Don't be afraid. Speaking for all of us, really shouldn't, but no, right.
You're right.
They were perfect. They're human beings, just like just like
Just like
everybody
we
else.
are.
Yeah.
Just like we are. And we're not perfect.
But you're ready. You are ready for dating. You are bring it. Yeah.
Ready to
But you better be
you better be what?
Better be a good man. Better have your shit, your things together.
Oh, sorry. Apparently it's time for me to go to bed.
I don't know why I'm censoring myself on this podcast. Better have your shit together.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. You won't even have time. You won't give them a day otherwise, because life is short. So you're not going to spend time on somebody who's
not worthy.
Not going to make being in the moment with worthwhile.
Be able to be vulnerable. Be able to be real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that, if you had a choice, Armen would still be here. But do you think that you have grown so much because of the pain and the loss of him?
I'm a better person. Better person for having lost him, which is really, really. So in the arc of grief, there's different milestones where you grieve again. Like, it's not linear. You don't just continue to get better. You drop and then you get better, and you drop and you get not better, but not so sad.
Easier.
But when the moment that I got, like, I was like, I don't know if I would, like, it would be a really difficult choice for me to trade my life now. It was like, and then I cried and yeah, it's a really difficult but beautiful thing to say. I'd go back in a heartbeat, but I love my life. Like, it's absurd.
Yeah. Well,
when I talk about the absurdity of life, this is what I mean. Like, what would I ditch everything and go back to Armen in this moment? I would say yes, but only if I could keep what I know.
Yes. Yeah. Keep the knowledge that you've accrued, right? Yeah, of course.
And that whole idea is absurd because it's impossible.
It's one that people can relate to that haven't gone through this experience. You think about, I remember asking my mom when I was a kid, if you could go back and be in high school again, would you? And she'd be like, oh God, no, unless I could go there with the knowledge I have now. Right. And as a kid, of course, I didn't understand that. As somebody who hasn't been widowed, that might be a hard equation to really dissect, but I understand that, through our trials, we grow and we gain knowledge, and our hearts become bigger and our depth becomes, even
deeper.
Right. Yeah. And so I can completely appreciate that very scary idea. Of course you'd want him back. Of course. But man, who you've become as a result.
There's loss either way. I literally thought about this the other day. I don't know why it came up, but it did. And I think I was driving or something, but I was like, I go back in a heartbeat. Oh, maybe I was in my old neighborhood or something like that. But then that would also be really sad because I love my life.
Yeah.
I love my life now. I think I was saying this to a friend. I was like, I wouldn't know you if this hadn't happened. Like, you wouldn't.
We wouldn't be having this conversation.
We wouldn't be having this conversation.
We wouldn't have met.
The two of you.
Right.
I wouldn't know the two of you. So I try to not dwell in the what ifs or the why. Avoid why, avoid what if. Just, this is what life is. And this is what life was. And that was beautiful. And this is beautiful. And if this isn't beautiful now, what do I need? What can I do to make it more beautiful?
Well, you have the knowledge of the that and the this, and now you can create, you can help manifest the next
I can
phase.
manifest whatever is coming. And that's the only thing to do. Like if there's unhappiness with the what is, then what would make it better? What would make it different? What would be happier? And then that's where to go.
Yeah. Well, this is
Wow.
absolutely fabulous and
Yeah.
wonderful conversation. Did we just lock up on?
On Zoom.
Oh, we're
Yeah.
back. Sorry about that. Oh, but like I was saying, this has been wonderful, Frankie.
Tremendous.
Great conversation. You
I'm
are
glad.
a gem and a light and a beautiful woman who I know I am grateful and thankful to be able to call you a friend. And I know Emily
Absolutely
feels the same way.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming and the part
Yes, that's all
Love you.
and being vulnerable with us and sharing and your thoughts and your story with our listeners. And I hope you will come back again.
Absolutely.
And let's do it in real time, real like 3D.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
You know,
absolutely. I look forward to that. And thank you for giving me this platform and letting me come up and talk about all this. It really is a gift to me, even though sometimes it can be difficult to talk about.
Sure.
What's really difficult is not being able to talk about it.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, we appreciate you.
yeah.
So
Thank you,
cheers.
Frankie.
Cheers,
Cheers.
Frankie.
Love
Stay
you.
healthy.
Cheers,
Much
cheers.
love.
Love you guys.
Love you. Yeah. I know. I told you.
I heard you do that.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
No.
You heard her as well.
I mean, that's my preliminary taste, everybody. That's how that goes.
That was tasty.
That was major Hannibal Lecter vibe.
You didn't hear it, Frankie, but she did. She did like fava beans with her wine. A nice Chianti.